Polar Bears and the Arctic by Mary Pope Osborne and Natalie Pope Boyce. Chapter 3, First People of the Arctic. The first people came to the Arctic thousands of years ago. They settled in groups in northern Alaska, Scandinavia, Canada, and Siberia, and along the coast of Greenland. These groups spoke languages that are a lot alike. They also shared many of the same customs. These people are often called Eskimos. This is not the name that they chose for themselves. So today, many Arctic people want to be known by the name of their group, like the Inuit of Canada and Greenland, or the Yupik of Alaska. For thousands of years, native Arctic people battled frigid temperatures, bitterly cold winds, and rough seas. But even though life was hard, they learned the secrets of survival in a frozen world, hunting and fishing. Much of their food came from the Arctic Ocean. They hunted whales, seals, and walruses, and fished for salmon, cod, and other sea creatures. On land, they also followed the great herds of the caribou that roamed the Arctic. They ate caribou meat and used the skins for tents and clothing. Arctic people wore clothes made of animal skins. Women made clothes from caribou or seal. They sewed with needles carved from animal bones and thread made from animal tendons. Tendons are kind of stringy tissue that connects muscles or bone or other muscles. Everyone wore mittens, boots, pants, and heavy jackets with hoods called parkas. Mothers made their parka hoods large enough to fit over the babies they carried on their backs. Dog sleds. Arctic people knew that at different times of the year, some places were better than others for hunting or fishing. They traveled to these places even though they did not have cars or roads. On land, everyone traveled in dog sleds made from driftwood or animal bones. 2 to 12 dogs pulled the sleds. The dogs' owners and their families rode in the sleds or ran along beside them. Sled dogs are very hardy and can live outside in the coldest weather. Good sled dogs pull 2 times their weight. They can travel for many miles without getting tired. Sled dogs also help their owners find food. They would spot seals as they came up to breathe in the ice holes, and when other animals came too close, the sled dogs would fight to defend their owners. Kayaks and umiaks. On the sea, people used 2 kinds of boats. One was the kayak. They are small one-man boats used for hunting small sea animals and fish. We still use kayaks today, though mostly for fun. Kayaks move quietly in the water. Wearing special waterproof clothes made from walrus intestines, hunters sneaked up on their prey. A larger boat made of animal skins and animal bones was called the umiak. It could hold about 20 people. The umiak carried men out to hunt the great whales. Houses. Arctic people had several types of houses. In the summer, many lived in tents made of animal skins. During the winter, they moved into sod houses built into the earth. They covered the houses with animal skins to keep out the cold winds. The front door usually slanted down to the outside. This trapped the cold air and kept it from blowing into the house. This type of doorway is called an Arctic entrance. When some groups traveled in the winter, they built ice houses we now call igloos. Using special ice knives, they chopped the ice and the snow into blocks. Then they fitted the blocks together to form a round ice house. Igloos could be put up in 1 day or even an hour. Inside their houses, families lit oil lamps. The oil was made from whale or walrus fat. At night, when the winds howled outside, they huddled together. The adults told stories and carved beautiful objects from bone and ivory. Families. Families lived in groups of about 100. The men hunted, fished, built houses, and made weapons and tools. The women took charge of making clothes, cleaning, and taking care of the children. They also prepared food, and they dried fish and meat for storage. Children were rarely punished. Although they had fun, they also had to work. They helped their parents hunt and gather food. They also collected driftwood to use for sleds and houses. The argument contest. When people got angry with one another, one way they solved arguments was to have an insult contest. They would stand up and yell insults back and forth. The first to lose his or her temper lost the contest. Arctic stories. For Native people, many things had souls or magic powers. They had sacred stories about the wind, animals, the aurora borealis, the sea, and more. Because they saw polar bears walking upright, they told stories about polar bears that lived and talked like humans. Some groups told stories about Sedna, a sea goddess. They believed Sedna lived on the bottom of the sea. All the sea creatures obeyed her. Fishermen tried to keep Sedna happy. If not, they worried fishing could be really bad. Arctic natives also believed certain people had magic powers. They called them shamuts. Shamuts acted as doctors as well as advice givers. Native people today. Over the years, life in the Arctic has changed. The Arctic is rich in oil, gas, fish, and minerals. Miners, fishermen, fur traders, and others have joined Arctic natives to make the Arctic their home. Today, in spite of many changes, some native people follow the old ways of their ancestors. They live in small villages, get their food from the sea, and speak their own languages. They still honor many of their old customs. Some even travel by dog sled. But many native people do 21st century things as well. They drive snowmobiles, motorboats, and cars. And many live in modern houses and buy food in stores. Native Arctic people have a great history, and they are proud to be related to the first people who dared to make the frozen Arctic their home.